All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Trading and Sport webinar. Today's date is July 1st, 2019. And this is a Monday night webinar. And the title of tonight's webinar is Viper Tools and How to Use Them to Trade. And as everyone knows who's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? If not, we'll get started. Okay, so Thursday, July 4th is a 12 p.m. halt Central Time. Yeah, okay. That's crazy that they're even open at all, but that's fine. You know, y'all can trade if you want to. All right, not if you're in a top step funded, you can't though. Remember that one. Okay, we don't want to do that one. Let's go ahead and show some charts here real quick. Bear with me a second. Now, let's go over something. I'm going to go over some of the use of the tools. You know, some of the reasons that we developed the tools the way we did them, okay? Because to give you an example, this is last night before 5 p.m. This is about 4:53. Okay, now you know there's no action been going on all weekend. It starts at 5 p.m. Okay, but did you know you can actually trade that if you want to? There's several ways to do it. Now, you don't want to do like a region with a bar close. It won't happen. Okay, but a touch will, because the touch algorithm is different. Okay, the touch algorithm on Object Trader is totally different. For instance, if I was to draw a region with touch at the top of this, it wouldn't care if the first bar was up here, it would still fire it. Let's see and talk about True Trend not used anymore. Actually, I'll talk about True Trend today some because I do use it. I showed it this morning. You know, we've got a lot of tools, and the one thing about it, you don't have to use them all, but they're there at your disposal if you want to use them. Okay? Now, let me show you how you could actually trade this if you wanted to, and try it in Sim a couple of weeks and see what you think. But, you know, for instance, this is Sunday night. All right? What you could actually do, you could do a bar close. Now, bar close will get you in. You know, it may even be clear up here like it was Sunday night, but that bar closed way up here and it still, you know, fired a very good trade. But we've got some tools to help you not get slapped. Okay. We haven't talked about this a lot, but right down here in this max profit, max plus, and max minus, these are areas that you can actually, you know, for instance, let's say that I wanted to make $500 on a Sunday night and I'm willing to, you know, risk 3 to do it. Okay, I could actually do that, and then if this hits 500 and draws down 10%, it'll fire me out, or I can even put it at a drawdown of nothing if I want to. Okay, we've got this defaulted at 10%, but you know, you can put it at 0 if you want to. So when it hits 500, it would fire a market order and get you out of the trade, or it's supposed to. Okay, now I traded this last night on one of my accounts. I talked about it this morning. And the way I actually did this was using our Viper tools like I'm going to teach you tonight. I just simply did a bar close. I was willing to do 3 contracts, and I simply turned on long. Now, why did I turn on long instead of short on that? Anybody? Well, if you look at, for instance, this right here, see, this was actually already getting low, high, higher low, and even a higher high. Okay. So we kind of figured that it was more than likely heading up, not down, even though at the time you still had this look right here. But you can clearly see low, high, higher low, higher high. So just simply turned it on and let it do its thing. Let me show you how this would actually do if you did that. I'll just fast forward this just a little bit. This is just to show the tool, you know, how you can use it. And I'm going to do it with a region in a minute too and show you. But let's go ahead and just fast forward this just a little bit. We got to get 7 minutes past under our belt here. All right, now notice how that fired all the way up here. Okay, The reason for that is because there was nothing bar closed until there. And look at that. That was a actually it turned out 610 on the way I traded it last night, but I was doing it manually and watching it. Okay. So could something like that work for you? I've used that on Sunday night several times. I kind of gauge it on what the market has done. I don't like to do it when it's sideways, but I don't mind doing it when it's, when there's, you can at least see somewhat of a trend with it or something. Okay. Anybody not aware with how you do that? Let's see, for some reason or another, my charts do not have anything below the flat chart, profit or loss. Well, the reason for that is, Dennis, and everybody's got to realize that Ninja 7, this is not able to be anything done with it. Now, on Chart Trader, they only use like literally the top part of the thing. So when you put it on a smaller chart, it's still okay. But on Object Trader, we've got so much in it that it needs all this space right here. And you really need it on 1080p. Okay. Now, if you do like, I think 1268 by whatever it is, let me see. That's a good question, by the way. Let me see what it is. Just one second. Okay, see, I've got 4 monitors on here right now. And see, this is set by 1920 by 1200 on this particular monitor so that we don't get a lot of, just really small. But I've got resolution up to here. Okay. Now, if you don't have at least the 1080p or something, that can show all of that, then you really want to probably get another monitor, as long as your video card will do it. But because you've got to be able to see all that down below there. Okay. Now, let's back this up and let's try it just for the fun of it. We're going to back it up and we're going to do it with like a trend line instead. Okay. All right. Let's see if a trend line will work. We're going to try it several ways. All right. Now, remember, again, if you're going to use like even a trend line, like a wedge, be sure to realize that you want it to do a touch. Okay. Because the whole idea is if it touches above that line, it's going to fire a market order. Now, with a close, it could close inside the line and outside the line and never fire. Okay, and that could happen, and you'd just be sitting there going, I don't like that. So, that makes me use touch quite a bit. All right, let's do the same thing with it. We'll just do 500, max drawdown of 3, and no drawdown of percentage. And let's see what it does. Let's fast forward a little bit. And whoa, got to slow it down. There we go, 455. We've gotten pretty good at this little thing. 20 times should get us there fairly quick. That's good enough, 10 seconds. All right, that's on touch. And you got the same thing virtually, see there? $380, $540, and you're done. See there? Didn't let you draw down at all. Okay? So, what I'm going over tonight, we teach trades in every webinar, but I want to teach you a little bit, about this masterpiece called Object Trader. And, it's got naturally some things I'd like to change about it still. And we're going to be working on that, slowly but surely anyway. But there's a lot to Object Trader. It actually has, I forget how many, like 70,000 lines of code in it. It's pretty heavy little tool. Okay, and of course we could try that with region, but I think everybody gets the gist of that, right? Now again, even if you did it with region though, don't use the close, use the touch. Okay, your chart did not move, Frank. Did you put it in replay? See, I've got this replay already recorded. Okay, did you have yours already recorded? Just 1 second. Did it pause? You saw something the first time though, right? I leaned on the deal. Did everybody not see that then? Give me just a second then and I'll redo it. We're not in a hurry. We're going to go ahead and back this up just a little bit. Back it up to about 430. That's good enough. I'll show that again and I apologize for that. All right, so it's 4:30ish. Now one thing, if you restart or something like that, be sure and redo your region. We got about 425, so let's go ahead and do our region, our wedge, and we'll do just a nice little region from a top down through here even, and all we want to do is touch that, right? So we're going to set it on touch. We'll do it on 500, max drawdown of 3, no drawdown percentage. In other words, we just want $500 bill. Okay, and we'll fast forward this a little bit till we can get to 5 o'clock. That's pretty close. Let's fast forward just a little bit. 56. Let it go ahead and do that fast. That's pretty good. And then I'll slow it down when it gets to 59. There we go. All right, let's wait 12 seconds. All right, see, we've got a wedge set on touch plus. 0 is all. All it has to do is touch above that wedge and it'll fire a market order with your broker. Okay, so here's your trade. And keep in mind that the moment this did what we wanted it to do, you could just hit like I did last night, because I traded that, like I said, with my wife's Top Step account. Can't trade the live when she's in her second evaluation. She had planned on getting it through by June 1st, but she got a little bit, I wouldn't say lazy because she had hit me, but not quite as trading as she was. So anyway, we'll be working on that quite a bit, because once she sees that funded like mine is, she'll love it. All right. So anyway, that's how you would do that. This part of the tools is kind of nice to use, because you do have, a chart P&L. You've got an actual account P&L. See how that says chart P&L reach down here? So when that got to $500, it automatically fired a market order with your broker and got you out of the trade. That's the way that worked. Okay, pretty cool, huh? All right, let's see. Let's talk about some other things, Viper Tools tonight. I'm going to talk quite a bit about, because we've gone over quite a bit of the Viper indicators. I'm not so concerned about that right now as teaching you a little bit more about Object Trader. And bear with me 1 second. Yeah, your screen is not moving. That's why, wasn't it? Because I leaned on the deal. Okay. Now, keep in mind that when you're trading, like on, just to give an example, like a Sunday night, or anytime you're trading as far as that goes, you can make all kinds of good trades. To give an example, here's like a little trend line that I can see that's actually already getting ready to break. See it? Thrust, retrace, thrust. If that breaks that trend line, could you short that? You could always put a stop, and granted, that's way up there at mid-band. Should you be actually boxing it the other way? Well, what if it breaks that trend line? You can use the trend line tool to do that. Okay. Now, what we teach is, though, where we really want to take this trade is we want to take out support if it's going to break down, and then we want to kiss that support area, or at least close to it, and get some kind of a white predictor or something like that if it breaks down. Okay. And if it breaks up, you could also do a trend line, to break it up, or you could even do something with, like a box, to give an example. Let's say if this bounces off of mid-band, we've got tools to take this trade. Let me just show you something here. Let's just go for 10 ticks only, and let's do bar close, long, and see if we can get 10 ticks. That's right at mid-band. Well, why didn't that bar close me? Okay. I think I know why. Guess why? Because we engineered it into the product. It won't fire a trade once that 500 is hit. That's another tool that's in here that's kind of cool, but also if you forget that you had it turned on, it will not fire the next trade. Okay, see, that was a 10-tick trade too. Okay, so if you do use this particular little tool and it says chart P&L reach down here, be sure to realize that you need to kick this up to get a trade. Like say if I kick that up to like 1500 to give an example, I can go ahead and actually, well, let's say for instance, I want to just go ahead and, I don't want to long here. I want to short, see how it's kissing resistance. See if we can get 10 ticks. Okay, notice how now you can fire a trade. Okay, because I kicked the P&L up. Okay, so if you ever use this, remember, if you get chart P&L reached or something like that, you could manually fire anything else and it will not fire a trade. Okay, and one of the reasons for that is, let's say that you were away from your computer and you had it set at 300 max loss, 500 max profit. You don't want it firing other trades, right? You want to just walk back in and see a $500 bill on your account. Now, that's the way we designed it anyway. Anybody have any questions on that? Let's see, would it be okay to remind you of my question? You told me to wait until tonight. Sure, what was that question again, Lewis? I'll be happy to answer it. Does anybody have any questions on any tools in Object Trader? Because I'll go over them, by what people ask on here. Because I wanted to show this tonight because that can be a pretty good little tool right there. And I know we haven't talked about it a lot, and I don't personally even use it that often, but it's actually amazingly a pretty good little tool that's part of Object Trader. And I actually spent some pretty good money out of my pocket to have it designed, for that. And, sometimes you just get lost in the amount of things that we do actually do, and you don't end up using some of the tools that are in here. I mean, just to give you an example, we've even got reverse at target if you ever want to use it. If you see an area that, for instance, like let's say that, well, it's too late now, but let's say that I wanted to go long when that was kind of popping up a little bit. I could even set it to reverse when it kisses resistance. We draw on our charts all the time, so that could actually work. Let's see, just one second. You find yourself too late on entry using region box, or as you phrase it, box it in. Well, Michael, on your question, keep in mind, though, that if a person boxes it in at the right spot, because the whole thing is, just to give an example, like on a retrace, let's just go back a little ways and go over some trades. Okay, let me see if I can go backwards on here. Just one second. Like to give an example, like, let's say that you were watching this in real time right here, okay, and you saw that the background was red, okay, and the midband was red or magenta colored even, and you're looking for retraces, right? And you're looking for these into these predictors, okay, because the predictors are a really good indication of where that is going to hit its head. Okay, like this predictor right here. This is what we call a minimum criteria trade. You can clearly see it by turning on the alert. Minimum criteria short. Should flash right there, I would think. Oh, unless I don't have my indicator set for the amount of time. Just one second. I got it set for 480, but that might not be enough because that was actually on Friday. So that wouldn't show that alert. I'd have to change that to like 12,000 or something like that, a lot of minutes back. But it would flash right here on this bar. Okay. And then you just box it in. Because I don't find that to be a late entry at all myself. Because, when we teach to box in, we are retrace traders. We're not breakout traders. If you box in to break out, you're going to get killed. But if you wait for the retrace, for instance, if you had been trading here all morning, this was actually going up, 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 right? This was on Friday. Okay. And matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we called this trade too. This was actually when we opened the room right here. Yeah, I know we did. We got this trade on Friday morning. But see, when this starts breaking, like right here, to give an example, they're starting to change trends. Okay. So when you kiss resistance, now you don't have to box this. If you kiss resistance and roll and get 10 ticks, kiss resistance and roll and get 10 ticks, you can do that all day long if you want. But your safest trade is to wait for it to thrust down, retrace. Okay. Little trade here at predictor, back in the box, and another trade at predictor, mid-band. Okay. So let's go over this though, what Michael's talking about, because that is a really good question, because I went over this on Saturday, but I'm not real sure that everybody, kept up with what was going on. Okay. Because what you really want to do is, if you happen to get a trade that gets up around mid-band, hits predictor and things, you kind of watch the bars. Okay. And they're usually fairly slow. They don't just instantaneously do like 3 or 4 bars at a time. So, if you box this in something like that and take it on a touch when it's out of the deal, and put your stop just above the box, those don't turn out to be too bad a trade. See how that's just barely, barely, barely. And if it goes above it, you can always get out of it, or you can give it a little wiggle room, like we give 12-tick trades, and then take, that happens a lot. Or you can do like I do a lot of times, and I like to use, where'd it go? That was weird. I like to use trend lines also. Okay. So, if you were looking at this on a trend line basis, you could clearly see that you could draw underneath those lows right there. And I like a trend line. A lot of times I'll draw these wedges and see it pretty much broke there instead. So trend lines are pretty good. Okay. No matter how you do it, they're always going to try their dead level best to at least give you a little bit of heat. Not always. We get some trades to the tick. Today at 88.40 on Russell, we called it to the tick. Let's see, I used it mid-band most of the time. Well, the one thing about mid-band trades, though, keep in mind, because I taught this on Saturday, okay, this first in the mid-band is a pretty good high probability trade. By the time you get down to the second one, that's a lot less high probability than that one was. Okay, now a lot of times this one will literally just go like crazy. This one, also what you want to look at is when you get into a yellow bar mid-band type trade, you've got to take out the previous swing. And they did here. So this is a legitimate mid-band trade. Okay, and you can definitely box it, but keep in mind that if this thing decides to go against you, you can get out of it pretty quick too. Okay. Let's see. It takes the trade outside the box and goes price range. Goes against as soon as I'm in the trade. Are you boxing in like we're teaching though, Michael? Because just to give an example, like right here, when this was starting to get this higher low, we teach this trade too. This is a phantom trade back in the mid band, but this is also a box in trade for that long too. Okay. And again, like I say, if you'll really look for the trades that actually, the first time in, the good thrust, retrace, like this here, another thrust, retrace like here. But when you see this happen right here, where you barely take out those lows, see how they barely take that out? That's usually a trend change. We see this on the charts all the time. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't get another trade, because here's a good 10-tick trade again. Okay. But finally, after you see this type of thing, they usually end up quitting. Here's another one right here to give you an example. See, when you get like a high, a low, and a higher high here. Now, this is a pretty decent high. It's a good 10, 12 ticks higher. So I still consider that to be a very good swing from here. But the market doesn't necessarily, when you barely get these, they're pretty much ready to retrace. let's look at some others here. Here's an example, like right. So you have a high, you have a low, same high, but it still stair steps up, gets a much higher high. That's your favorite kind of trade right there. You know, but if they barely take this out, let's say that they consolidate right here, and then you start getting a lower, you know, basically you start not stair stepping anymore. They start getting lower highs and everything. That's when they're changing. How do you know to box it above the midband or at the bottom of the midband? Because when I get in, I'm already taking some, are you saying some heat? Is that what you're saying? Let's see. Boxing above the midband or at the bottom of the midband, because when I get in, I'm already taking the 12 tick stops. Well, okay. Now, 12 tick, if you're going to do like little breakout trades, you pretty much have to get in at the proper spot. Okay, like to give an example, like if you boxed in here, turn on your little alert deal, and it'll alert you where the bars are changing. Actually, it won't here because we're back on Friday. But this would flash green and let you know that that's a mid-band type trade. But like any trade, let's say that you were watching this in real time and you boxed this in. You said, okay, I got a down bar, I got an up bar. I'm going to just get in when that bar even tries to go above that bar. So you're in. Okay. If you put your stop right below here, you're right. You're actually, you know, you're definitely risking, let's say you get a fill of 59, 35 or 36, say 36, you got a 9 tick stop at least. And that's if it just wicked that. Okay. But you can always do the trick where you watch it. It kind of kisses the top of your little box, and you know, you pretty much stay in it. A lot of times, if they actually barely thrust up and pull back in that box, you can flat get out at, you know, pretty close to your cost. It may cost you a broker fee, and even with like one upper top step, you know, it may cost you something, but it's a lot better than the $300 hit. Yeah. When did it happen to you today? Because every trade call that Charles and I made today was just spot on. I don't remember any of them not working today. If anybody does, let me know, but I don't remember any of them. Okay. All right. Also, you know, basically it's pretty smart to check your fibs and things too, but you know, keep in mind the only thing about trading is even if you check fibs, you know, are they really going to pull back? For instance, see, that's a 23.6% pullback. It didn't even pull back to 38. But we use these mid bands because they're really great support and resistance areas. Oh, between 6 and 7 a.m. Before we opened or after we opened? Well, we focused on Russell today somewhat, but keep in mind I called that ES trade that we got into also. But Russell was on fire. Yeah. One way you can also look at it, your California time, so 6 to 7, you were at about 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock my time. And which instrument was it on, Michael? Was it on crude? When we opened on CL today? Okay. You want to fast forward to it? I'll do that. Let's see. That was at July the 1st. Let me fast forward a little bit. And that was at, we opened at 7:55. I can only get it to go to like 7:36, so that's fine. We'll do that. Let it go ahead and load, and we'll show that one too. Just 1 second. Now remember what we talk about on oil always at the open of the market. You've got to go the direction the market's going. Okay? Because when we actually got this trade today, to give an example, remember, we actually got this trade just beautifully, just right around mid-band. It got a nice long, but it was a lower high. And you also get these boxes that we print each and every day. See the 759 box? Okay, and a lot of our people really like that. And by the way, there's another way that you can do that too. And that is, just watch and see, have they double topped? Have they given you a lower high? Could you draw a trend line under the lows? Because at the open, they do what they want to do. But also keep in mind that, even if you were long this morning on that great trade call that was made, because I remember it, and I had several people say, wow, that was great, Gary. We got 13, 15 ticks. 15 ticks is nothing to sneeze at. That was a $300 bill with 2 contracts. Okay. And then right after that, oil did go short. But let me fast forward this, and you tell me when you see a trade. See one setting up? You got a thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace, thrust. So right here, they haven't checked yet. I actually said that live in the room this morning. See, they hadn't checked that yet. And we actually took this trade with a bar close, went long. As a matter of fact, if you went with 2, like, we usually do at least the 2, and you can put your stop, for instance, if it's right at the open and you're afraid this might go the other way, just put your stop just underneath the bar itself. I usually use exit on close. So that's about a 9-tick hit, possibly a little more than that, simply because it could be, with the close of a bar, it'd be a little higher. Okay. But also when you get into a trade, watch this little deal here too. If this actually goes white, let me show you. Let's see if it goes white. I don't remember if it did or not. We'll find out. Fast forward a little bit because that's kind of slow. Okay, there we go. All right, see how that bar went white right there? Okay, now notice that it took it out. You could actually close that trade out right there, because usually when they take out these white bars, see how they stair step up until they don't? You can actually get out of that trade right there. Now, we had a box form then at 7:59. I'll let it go ahead and do it. See the box right there? That little box right there is actually a short box, the way we teach it, because that's actually your 8 o'clock, where the traders actually open up, and that's the direction they wanted to go. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, then what you got to do is you got to wait for the thrust and the retrace. Wicked you out of your trade at lower of mid-band. Well, do you remember, though, we got in right here. We had a line drawn exactly in the room right there. And most of our people took it on the bar close. And it got it pretty nicely up here. Now, at the open of the market, keep in mind, for instance, I even mentioned that oil had support right here. If you want to box something like that in and you didn't get the short, but let's say you just got stopped out of your long over here, okay, or even at mid-band, that's, that'd be fine on one contract. But could you actually be ready with the open of the market if they happen to break support? And just go either way they decide to go. And again, I like to use touch plus 1 or 2. That way you get in the trade quicker than a close. You get in at 60.05? That's a little late, because I did draw the line in the room, but still that was a good 10-tick trade. See, that's the one thing a person's got to get in the habit of, is at least taking profit. Don't let it go back against you. Because these markets move around. They're pretty hefty at moving around. But let me ask you a question. Even though this was red right here, could you have taken this trade when you see this doing this thing right here with a trend line break? Because I showed that in the room. I did take that trade down here. So that was a nice little trade right there. Stopped me out, and then we called this one right here. Okay? I don't let trades go except at the open, like on Russell or something like that. And I still don't like mid-band as far as getting, letting a trade come all the way from here back down to mid-band. I don't like that. Because to me, this trade should have been gotten out of right up in here. And that's actually a pretty good out. Now, will you miss some really good, you know, gusto type trades that'll barely take you out and then just pop up and go like a house of fire, yeah. But there's really nothing you can do about it. Isn't the breakout trade at the white line? This trade here, you mean? No, that wouldn't be a breakout trade. That's just a trend line break. But keep in mind, you can draw the trend line, then you can box it. You don't have to take the break of the trend line, you know, because you've got to have some confirmation that it's heading up. It was trying to tell you it was, though, when it got this higher low and it took out this swing right here on that bar. You know, because that was stair-stepping up at that time. See, the whole thing is on your charts, there's actually 3 trends that we watch. You can trade this minor one if you want to. But if you trade the minor one, you're not going to be paying as much attention to backgrounds, colors, and things like that. You're going to be getting in and out of, you know, trend line breaks and things like that. Okay. Yeah, I like to get out at, Dennis is even saying he likes to get out at line 6. Now, keep in mind that even if you get out at line 6, okay, and then it happens to go again, you know, and it could easily bounce here and just keep on trucking. There's no question about it. But to me, where this was stair-stepping up like that, it quit stair-stepping up when it took out that swing right there. And see how that white bar is flashing to let you know that? You know, I think it's pretty good. But you can also either draw this in real time or you can actually see it in your mind. But you have to, you know, kind of see the thrust retrace in your mind. Like I say, to me, this is a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low, and a lower high, and a lower low, and a lower high, and a much lower low. And if you wait clear till mid-band to get out of a trade that, you know, like let's say that you got in this thing, I don't know, maybe you even boxed it in at mid-band, and you got it up here, why you want to give it all the way back here? You know, but that's also why sometimes you will miss out on a trade. I know Charles stayed in a trade on Russell today that there's not a chance in the world that I would have stayed in that trade. Not even a chance. Because it went literally all the way from bottom of Phantom all the way back to the top. Well, even though the background of stuff is in short trades, though, Dave, we have a rule in the room at the open of the market. They could have been going up all night or for the last hour or whatever, and they'll still flip them at the open. We do whatever it takes at that open. I didn't personally get this trade here. Remember, we were long from here. I called it. It was live. Okay, we got stopped out, but I didn't flip it. But I did go short when it took this out. And then we also called the short. I'll show you where the other short was. I remember calling it. It was at mid-band. Let's just fast forward and show you. Now, is there a trade setting up on this chart? Anybody? Well, you had one right there, but you've already missed it. So you have to wait for the next one to come. Let's see if we get a trade. There you go. There's getting close to one. All right, looking to the left to trade the right. Where have they not checked yet? Right there. So are they going to check there? More than likely. Well, if they do, you could be ready to take it. That would be the bottom of the box touch, like +2. And if they come up there and check that swing right there, you could take the trade. Let's see, even though the back, yeah, I mentioned that one already. Well, this gives a good chance, by the way. I know this has been like almost 40 minutes and we're not going over as much of the Viper tools and how to use them, but it's also good to, you know, get feedback on how people are getting in. Because here's another thing too. Late trades will usually cost you, you know, unless you're going to literally scalp like 5 or 6 ticks. Because late trades, you know, most traders have already taken the profit. Because, you know, like in the room this morning, this was clearly drawn on the chart right here at this line. Actually, it was right here, remember? And it hadn't checked it, and we boxed it right there. So that was literally an awesome trade. And it actually, with like 3 contracts, that was a $400 trade. Okay? All right, let me ask a quick question for the team. Don't look at your charts from this morning. Just simply tell me where you would box this in. Okay, where would you want this boxed in? Because to me, I see a thrust, a retrace, and a thrust. They have not checked that swing yet. Predictors saying they haven't checked the swing yet. Midband saying that, hey, they broke down and they changed my midband to magenta, so are you ready to trade me the other way? Could we do a trend line to give an example instead? Let's go ahead and close this trade out and I'll do a trend line. So you got a trend line growing right through there. My little phone's going off the hook for some reason. I don't know what it is. We'll just do a touch +2. That's fine. All right. And let's see if we get something. That's kind of like boxing it in, really. But to be truthful about the trade, though, I would probably, as soon as it hits that blue line, I'm going to fire one contract because that's what I'm looking for, that trade to hit. And that's where we want the trade, and that's where we would actually get the trade. Okay? When they break down through, you always draw on your charts, and especially at these lightning 3 swings. Okay? So, you know, for instance, if they pop up here and hit that line, I would simply hit the button. As soon as I see the tick, go to the downside. And you'll see, watch how the bar does. Watch that bar. See how that bar kind of clicked back down below the line? You could actually just short it right there. Okay? Now, if you decided you wanted to do on the wedge again, you could really tighten it up and add something like that. You know, tighten it up, and if it touches the wedge, you could get in another contract because it's set at 3, so it's not going to go above that. I may have this one set. No, I've got it set on 3. For sure set on 3. Okay? So that's a way to do that. See how that hit that line exactly? That's exactly where we had that trade. Remember when Charles had just walked in the room before 8:30? We both said we're going to box in oil at the midband. Okay? And boxing in oil at the midband literally meant that we were looking for it to hit its head right there. And this was pretty much the box right here. Like so. And when it rolled over, you wanted that trade. Okay? But even if you don't fire by wedge or something like that, just get in the habit of, you know, drawing trend lines on your chart, drawing boxes, drawing wedges, things like that. Now, don't use your white bars on a short. Use your black ones. Use the short one. See how it's got a black bar right there? You could actually start tightening the stop on this. Now that's still going to lose two ticks if it comes up there, right? Okay. But watch these black bars, and this is going over how to use the Viper tools, by the way. All right. Watch these black bars show up on the chart in real time. Just fast forward a little bit so you can see it. See the black bars? Let me get rid of lightning. All right, see the black bar? See the black bar back here? See how they're stair-stepping down, stair-stepping down, stair-stepping down? As long as they're doing that, you can stay in a trade. And this is where you make the money right here. Okay? But it's also how you can get out of a trade too. For instance, if you got in here and you saw that this made a black bar, then, you know, don't let it take it out. Because what if this was a fake and they decided to take it up? You could get out pretty quick. Yeah, there you go. Dennis says, I like to draw lines on my chart and wait for confirmation to get in. With your rules, I make it then my own. Exactly. And see, the whole thing is everybody's got a different way of trading. But what we do is we teach a system that we like and we trade. You know, for instance, see that black bar right there? Could you protect your trade? Well, see, line 2 is good too. And you've even got an auto that you can put that on line 2 and do like a little bit of a above it and then just kick that in, and that'd put your stop just right above line 2. Okay. And let's see what it did. I don't remember exactly, but let's take it out on the black bar. See how the trade's following line 2. Finally takes you out. Probably didn't see it. That's why line 2 is pretty good with a little bit of a pullback, about 3 ticks or so. They're going to finally get it. See the black bar? Gotcha. All right. Now, is this another trade, though? Look at that. It came right to mid-band. Using our tools, would you already be in this trade? Yes or no? Something like that right there. Box it. And you could be in the trade. Otherwise, you know, it's too late. I mean, this trade has already happened. Unless what you do is you want to say, you know what? I'm going to short this anyway. And I'm going to take a chance that this doesn't even close above this bar right here. Willing to risk 6 ticks. See what I mean? Because you can chase a trade if you want. If you see it break down and you missed it, and you want to chase it, just don't let it start doing a stair-stepping back up. Okay? Because that was kind of a line 2 break is what that was. All right? And a trade like that can work pretty well too. Anybody have any other questions on what tools to use? We're trying to make Viper the best system out there, and I think we've got literally hundreds and hundreds of traders all around that believe it is. And these alerts, I think, are really helping too. What does the B and E do? How do I use it? Dr. Phil, very good question. And this is what these webinars are for, is to talk about what these mean. You're talking about the break-even trigger up here? On this one? Let me see if that's, oh, you're talking about the other one. You're talking about this one right here, break even. You can actually do plus or minus ticks on a break even if you want to. Let's say, for instance, that you put this in at, let's say, that'd be break even plus 5, I think is the way that is. I don't think it goes negative also. I don't know why it doesn't, because I would like for it to do that. But that should be break even plus 5, break even plus 2, break even plus 1, or whatever. Okay? And of course your break even trigger up here, you can set that for whatever you want it to be. And whenever it hits that figure right there, it will bring the stop to the break even that you got into. Okay. Everybody want to see if you can get in another trade? Let's see if everybody can get in another trade. You already missed your thrust. What are you going to do here? You got to wait for at least a pullback. Where's a pullback? Quick. You got one right there. If they come back close to it and roll, you could always take it. Otherwise, it's just going to break down. It's got to at least do some kind of a pullback, or you're chasing it. See, there we go. That's a bar up anyway. That bar's trying to go down, though. Let's see if we can get up to that line, or at least close to it. It's within 2 ticks of it, 3 ticks, 2 ticks. There it is, within 1 tick of it. See how you can do that? Now, did I wait for the bar to close? You don't have to. Now, on this particular one, I'd probably put a little tighter stop. See how it kissed resistance within a tick? That's what you're looking for. Okay? Anytime they break down, if you missed a thrust, you've got to wait for at least that little pullback. And I would definitely tighten my stop to break even now. Okay? Let's see. We closed the room at 10 o'clock. Did oil change trends at all? Does anybody remember? Does anybody want to see how you can find a trade that changes the trend? because what you're looking at when you're trading from one extreme to the other, let's just close this out. Let's fast forward this and see if we can find one. There's usually a trend change before long. Another trade, by the way, predictor. That could be a trend change if it takes out that swing and that resistance. Not yet though, right? Does anybody remember in the room this morning we talked about boxing this in? There's resistance right there. Now, why would we think that maybe this could be going up instead of down? Anybody? Because we drew a trend line in the room. It was already breaking the trend line. You were coming to mid-band, so it could go either way, right? You could actually box this, obviously, either direction. All right? And but we actually boxed this for either way, because does anybody remember what I had a line drawn down here in the room? We had a perfect support area at 59.15, and we called it out to the tick in the room, and it actually nailed it. That's why we called that trade long. Okay? Could you actually just take the second stealth? Let me show you another tool that you can use. See how this stealth is actually broken now? See where that wick goes through that stealth? So there's not a stealth heading up at all. But if you get another stealth, this could actually trigger a trade. Because stealth, when it's just heading up, see how you're actually getting a stealth, even though it hadn't showed up yet. You'll see it in just a second. We did our algorithm where it doesn't have to trigger the stealth to print yet, but it triggered it by the algorithm, so the algorithm's already seen the stealth. You'll see it in just a second, as soon as that bar closes. See the stealth? Does anybody remember that trade? Because that was called exactly live in the room this morning. Okay? We tried to build some really great tools into this system. See over here where you get one green stealth but not a second one? You know, could you actually just be watching, and if this did happen to break, where would this have changed trends if they would have decided to head up? They would have had to take out that swing right there. And see, they didn't. Okay? So you got a box rollover. Plus, you usually get at least a couple of mid-bands before you get a trend change. How do you take a stealth trade, Michael? Oh, you can turn on stealth. Let me just back that up and show you. The way you do a stealth trade, let's go back to about 922 and I'll show you. One thing great about using these tools. Let's let it go ahead and load. I'll check that Skype, Lewis, before we leave, and we'll get that question answered for you too. Let this go ahead and load. Okay, so basically, like right now, you know, let's let it ping around first, because this is still a short chart, right? But when did it start trying to become a little bit more of a long chart? See how you have a low here, high, starting to stair step? That's a pretty good indication that they're trying to head up. But you don't want to just hit the button yet, because you got to at least take this swing out. See it right here to the left? Always look to the left to trade the right. And that's also resistance right there. Okay, see that green stealth? Now the way you take this trade, Michael, if they get a stealth and you get what we call a gap in it, where you don't have a stealth again, you get a little gap, then you just turn on your stealth right here and turn it on long. And when that actually triggers the stealth, it'll fire the trade. Okay, see how it gapped stealth so far? If you had a stealth that was actually starting to stair step up, it would be connected, but you've lost connectivity to it because they're actually taking it out. Okay, now watch what it does. See, and stealth fires, and you get your trade. Okay? A lot of our people use that stealth, especially when they've been going down a lot, to give an example, and you get some of these trend changes like this. We boxed it. We didn't use stealth this morning, but I did call that trade at 45. And we saw it. It was starting to, it wasn't heading down anymore. That's what it really boiled down to. Could that have been a risky trade for us? Well, let's say that you got filled at like 47. You might have felt, what'd that come down to? 42, 5 ticks of heat. Turned out not bad. What if you missed that trade though? Where's the next trade on the chart? Because you should be able to see it, because we've been teaching this for a long time. So you got a thrust, retrace, thrust. They've checked a little bit below this line. They haven't checked right there yet. Okay, look to the left to trade the right. They've already checked that one. No, they haven't yet. Sorry. We'll draw a line there. Okay, well, they did check it. So the way you do this is you look for a thrust, a retrace, thrust, retrace, and where they haven't checked yet, you want to see if you can get something. Now, our predictor will draw in real time, okay? And that's what you want to really watch for, is that predictor, because it's calculating these prices as they're drawing on the chart. And as soon as a predictor draws, it's more than likely going to draw where you can get in the trade. Let's see if it does. And by the way, if you don't get a break in stealth, you can't really take a stealth trade again, because this green line just keeps going up, very possibly. But if you do get a break in stealth, you can go ahead and take it again. But always be careful. First thrust, you got to get a retrace. See if we get a predictor. I'll fast forward it. There's a predictor. What do you think? What if it closes above that line, or actually takes out that line? Could I fire a long if it does? It's exactly the way we teach this. We're going to talk about kiss trades next week. See, that would be a buy to me. See how it just came down there? Put your stop nice and tight. Middle of stealth's good enough. We're risking just a couple of ticks. Let's see if it held us in. It held us in. It gave you a chance to take some profit already too. I fast forwarded it. Everybody see how to use some of the features on the tools though? I mean, we've got stealth, we've got the wedge, we've got the sniper, the ray, the predictor trade. You could even fire that trade with predictor if you wanted to. This trade would fire automatically, and so would that one right there. Let me show you how to do that with the tool, and then we're probably going to have to wrap. Let's look at this one right here first. We're going to back up to about 940, and I'll show you how to use that predictor. This is just strictly about the tools. And let me check my Skype, because Lewis had sent me a question the other day, and let me see if I can find it. It might be one we're going to have to, about the alerts, not boxes. Yeah, this is pretty much what I'm talking about here. Just to give you an example, okay, we like to look for a thrust and a retrace, right? So let's turn on predictor. Now with predictor, if you don't want to just fire any type of trade, you've got to turn on what we call the require midband. That tells it to only look for longs. All right, and then we're going to look for a touch of predictor. And if it gets down and actually touches a predictor, the top of it, this would fire a long trade. Okay. Predictors are pretty good. Look at that, 10 ticks, well, more than 10 ticks. There's another one right there. It would have never fired because it didn't actually go back down over here. And by the way, if you get into even a predictor trade, be sure that you draw on your charts and you know where it hasn't hit yet, so that you're looking for the pullback. Okay. But watch predictor draw in real time because it's looking at all this too. Hopefully I don't go too fast and we can get that. See the predictor right there? See how it came within 2 ticks of it, and it fires the trade automatically. Okay, because it was looking for 2 ticks only and a tick up. That's what we had it set at. Now if I wanted to fire it again, like with another contract, all I got to do is turn that back on and it'll fire another one. If I wanted another one, it'd fire another one. As soon as it gets 2 ticks above it, that is. Actually, I must have this set for just 2 on my deal. Everybody see how to use the predictor like that? Now, what I recommend doing if you use, there it is, there's the 3. If you use predictor, what I'll normally do is put my stop just under predictor, because that's usually after a trend change, kind of like over here. You know, and you'll find out that they will not take out a predictor until they're ready to change. You'll see that time and time again when you're trading. Matter of fact, let's just fast forward this and see if I'm right. I'm going to kill this trade. That was good enough. But if they take out this predictor right here, I'm going to draw a line, then they're probably no longer heading up. But you might still have a phantom trade. Let's see what it does. There's predictor, bounced off of it, 10 ticks, topping out, breaking support, breaking predictor. Now, is that actually a trend change, anybody? Well, it took out predictor. It's taken out your support right here. So could you box this in and take a chance on this trade? You know, if it closes below that line or even touches below that line, could you take a chance on it? Let's see if it'll bip down a little bit. If it goes below the line, I'll take it. It's below the line, I'll take it. And I'm going to put my stop right there, exit on close. Okay, and then, by the way, you could use a region if you wanted to, like say right here. And if it takes out the bottom of the box, you could take it again and add one. Let's see if it does. Because keep in mind, even going down to phantom is still a short trade. Okay, if you want the short, you could certainly take it because you could protect your coin right at phantom. For instance, see how it just bounced off of phantom? You could actually take some off the table. Okay. If it didn't bounce off a phantom and you got an actual short, then bring your stop more like that. Okay. What was telling you that this could have been going short? Stealth went red right up here. And the reason it went red is because this was actually a pretty good pullback. This is based on a lot of slopes and angles and things like that also. So it knows how quickly something's pulling against you. Okay. Now, what if you missed this one? Does anybody see a predictor trade using the trend feature? Well, we missed it. See, it just hit my line. Everybody gets just this. Now I've got this going like 30 times, so obviously it'll be a little harder to trade it. But you can clearly see that you can tell when a lot of things happen on these charts because we do this every day in that room. And just to give you examples, this trade was called in real time. This trade was called in real time. This trade was called in real time. There were only this trade, and this trade called in that room this morning. And, oh, pardon me, and this one that was long because we went above 45. Okay? And that turned out to be a monster nice trade. Because if you think about that, you know, it topped out and everything, but where would you have gotten out of this trade? You know, the way I like to do it personally is turn this on right here and watch those little white bars. And when they take out those white bars or line 6, you could definitely be out of that trade. Could you have gotten back in at predictor and tried for it again? Yeah. But always be careful because, you know, until they take out those tops, you know, this is a good retrace, but, you know, you don't really want to box it in like a big old wide berth on it, you know, like that, to give an example. Because if you got in on that bar close, you have nothing in the trade. You pretty much want to get in it when it bounces off predictor. Okay? Lewis, I'll probably just get with you tomorrow after the room because your question is pretty lengthy. And I think I went over quite a bit of that, but I'll be happy to get with you on like a team viewer after the room closes, if that'll work. Does anybody have any questions on anything so far? Because this is exactly the way we teach and trade every single day in that room. No, it's not necessarily in the middle of the predictor. The predictor is actually like a region. We turned them into ellipses, well, for one thing, just to make the charts look better, but that's what it actually is. The algorithm that's in the predictor sees that, just like there's a line drawn there and a line drawn there. You know, for instance, could you have actually shorted this predictor through the bottom of it? You'd have to turn off the require mid band, and you'd have to actually fire the short as it comes out the bottom of the predictor. But you got to be careful with predictors because there's a lot of them that print, and if you have long and short turned on, it's looking for T and B buttons. So it's looking for B button, T button, T button, B button, T button, B button, T button, B button. So you want to be careful with that. Okay. We still like to draw on the charts. We do get in these trades. You know, for instance, this was after the room closed, so, you know, nobody got this trade. But see how it just perfectly came to that predictor? And if you drew your box right around that predictor, you'll see that it just kissed it within a tick. I like those trades myself. Predictors can be really good trades. And keep in mind, though, that even on a predictor trade, you know, you can always wait for the little 1, 2, 3 reversal at least. You don't have to wait for all 3 candles to close, by the way. You know, this candle up, well, let's look at it. Candle up, candle down. Could you actually get in that trade the moment that candle starts going down and that one even wicks below that? Yes. Because the longer you wait, the more chance you're not going to get down to the previous support, you know, levels. But if they're good spaced down, they're more than likely going to be really good. It's when they start going really sideways that you want to make sure that you don't do big old boxes. But when they're stair stepping like this, like that, I mean, these boxes at midband are perfect. And always keep in mind, I've taught this 1,000 times too, and that is that your midband, you always want to ratchet up on a long and down on a short. Okay, so for instance, you know, this phantom that you would have probably gotten here, that ratcheted up, pulls back, gets you a phantom trade, and then it shot up, right? So that was a legitimate type of trade that we teach. So then you're looking for the next midband trade or predictor trade, okay? And if they start breaking predictors like that, then they head down, okay? All right, I hope I answered everything. Lewis, we'll definitely get together tomorrow. Let's see if you want to call me after class. Not tonight. Would that be okay? After the room? Yeah, I've had plenty long day already. I've been trying to work on getting some of these scripts with the programmer. We're trying our dead level best to get this Ninja 8 finished up, and I've been back and forth with him on emails. But he's still got to get my minimum criteria trade fixed because it works. And it works pretty well, but I would really rather it fire a few more times. And I know what I need to tell him to do the algorithm. On Sunday trade, when do you prepare for the trade? Usually, Michael, what I do on a Sunday is just simply sit by my computer, diagnose a few charts. I don't like equities on Sunday. I like oil or gold even. And just look at it and see how I want to, which way I want to take it. You know, for instance, when that actually shot out of the gate on Sunday, you know, that turned out to be a monster trade, you know, as you clearly saw. All right, let's see. If it hits the stealth line, it triggers, Michael, with what it's actually looking for is a stealth line and the close of a bar. I may work on that and actually get him to actually, I don't like the close of the bar. I want the touch of the bar. And we don't have to change a lot to make it change that. Because even 4 ticks makes a difference in whether you make money. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will do this in the morning. And, it may slow down a little bit between now and Wednesday because of the holiday, but so far, I think these traders that stopped, like Top Step to give an example, I think they're wrong so far because did like $1,300 on Linda's account today. So that's pretty darn good. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great day and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.